Welcome to the Inwards and Upwards show. So great of you to join us here live from Surbiton. And we're going to be doing a presentation called Living from the Heart. So rather than me talking about myself, we're going to go straight into the presentation. So living from the heart, what does that actually mean? So there's the slide. Welcome to this presentation. We're going to be looking at living through the heart now. So from an early age, welcome to this video, and we live mainly through our heads. That's basically because most of the time when we're growing up, we've got so much information coming into us now through the head. So we're using our ears and our eyes and all our five senses, but we're processing everything through the head because basically when we're younger, we're told, oh, don't use your imagination too much. You're overthinking too much. You're oversensitive. It all starts to look a bit stressful for you to think that way. So you start to use your head. So the head gets bombarded with information. So this is really from a very early age, from the age of 1 to 7 to the theta age, we basically start to see our subconscious forming. So from a very early age, our subconscious forming. So we're getting this information in. So when we have these negative feelings and negative thoughts that keep cropping up, tend to come from our subconscious mind, which happens from a very early age. So a lot of highly sensitive children will be affected by things like their father maybe forgetting their birthdays, or even worse than that. It can be worse than that. But from a very early age, we receive information that can be very derogative to us. So we process these experiences in the head. So we're not using the heart anymore. We bring it into the head. So it's starting to make us feel like this is it. This is me. This is how I am. So our intellect begins to supersede our intelligence. So what do I mean by that? Intellect begins to supersede our intelligence. Well, we're a very left brain world in today's world, very left brain, and we're very intellectual. Intellect is cutting. It cuts and cuts and cuts till there's nothing left. Our intelligence is actually more nurturing and more inquisitive. So rather than using that cutting intellect, which will cut, we should be using our intelligence. But because we're being pushed into the left brain and away from the heart, we start to rely on our intellect. And many people give up at that point because you can't cram so much information into your intellect to make you feel like, well, I can really be on top of all of this. It's our intelligence that we need to actually nurture and make right. So it's our intelligence that we need to start to work on, the right brain. So when we go into the left brain, we become problem solvers, analysts, and busy all the time. So we're always looking for problems to solve, which is why many people can't sit down for 5 minutes in a room on their own and be quiet. It's very difficult for a lot of people to do that. I teach Ki Gong in Epsom every Friday to an elderly group. And the lady came in and she was in her 80s. And she said to me at the end of one of the classes, after being there for a few months, she said, I've never been able to sit quietly all my life. But now, since taking your classes, I can sit quietly. And it's made the world of difference to me. And I feel less stressed and less anxious and less feeling like I have to be busy. I can actually sit and enjoy certain moments in life. So when we come out of the left brain and go into the right brain, we actually start to wake up more as a human being, which is so, so important. So we start to become more of a being rather than a doing. When we're problem solving, we're analyzing, and we're busy all the time, we're a human doing rather than a human being. And in this state, we are perpetually stressed all the time. Stress going on and on and on. And it's making us more and more wary and tired and feel like there's a heavy rock on us all the time because we're continually stressed. And we never deal with our feelings or emotions properly. So when you think about the gazelle, I think we've all heard the story of the gazelle or a similar story. When the gazelle gets chased by a lion or a tiger to kill it, they want to eat the gazelle, it runs like as fast as it possibly can to actually get away from the lion. And as soon as the danger has finished, That gazelle will just look around, make sure that everything's okay, then go back to eating nicely and is in a calm rest and digest state. We don't actually operate like that, or most of us don't. We're always stressed. We're always having to deal with feelings and emotions, but we don't actually deal with them properly because we're stressed. And it's a stressful world we live in, because think of all the bad news that comes in every day, all the political news, all the threats of war, cost of living crisis seems to be all over the West. It's always bad news, and bad news always creates a bad brain. So we don't deal with that emotion properly to think, actually, at the moment, everything's okay. What can I do to make it better? And we were more thinking of, well, I'm in survival mode. I've got to try and do anything I can just to survive. And that's a stressed state. It's not you're not in a good state when you're living like that. And this stress really starts to kick in when it feels like it seems to want to hurt us. It really starts to make us feel, oh my goodness me, this is too much. I can't deal with this stress anymore. So when it feels like it's going to hurt us, it seems to load the stress onto us even more. And that seems to make it really hard for us to deal with the stress. So it really hurts us. It really hurts us to get past that stressful state. So when we have this caught up energy in our bodies, we react from this stagnant energy. So for me, for instance, my traumatic past, I had big trouble with drinking. I used to drink like a fish. I could drink so much all the time, and I was reacting from stagnant energy in my liver because I was angry because I felt it was an injustice with my mother dying at 11 and my father dying at 19. I went to a boarding school full of paedophiles. It was just traumatic all the way through that younger childhood state. Whereas before, up to the age of 10, my life was actually idyllic. I had loving parents, I had everything you could ever ask for, swimming pool. It was a beautiful life. And then from the age of 10, that was ripped away from me. And then up to the age of about 25, I would say 30, I was drinking like a fish from the age of about 15. And that kept me propped up because it felt like I was putting a barrier around myself to make me safe. And that alcohol was like an amazing prop for me. But what happened when I went to Korea with the British team, with the Ki Gong team, and we went into a meditation cave, I went through a trauma healing meditation for all the childhood traumas that I had. And I found one that had really ingrained on me about my older brothers taking my father's estate and not leaving the four brothers with nothing. And I forgave them there and then. I walked out of the cave and said to Hope, my teacher at the time, well, she said to me, "What happened to you?" And she said, "Well, you've lost like 10 years off of your face." Wow. Because I got rid of the anger from my liver, and I never really was able to drink as heavily as I used to after that. So that's a real proof that stagnant energy gets stuck in your body. And when we're stressed and traumatized, we react from that energy. So it's a protection mechanism that we use. So we're not actually living through the heart when we're doing that. We're actually living through stagnant energy, which is not a good thing. And we need to heal that at some point. And when we get to this point, when we're actually living like this, we start to say, this is who I am. This is how I am. And I'm damaged. I speak to highly sensitive people every week, and they believe that they're damaged. They can't get past this. This is who I am. I'm finding this difficult to live like this. So it's that belief system needs to be broken down to make them realize, no, this is not who you are. You're so faceted and so fascinating as well, I imagine, and multi-dimensional. You cannot say that this stagnant energy is you. You cannot say that. That's just an illusion in your mind. This builds up the world of illusions. It's full of illusions. We do live in a world of illusions. It's especially the power illusion of the power that is perceived to be over us when it isn't actually there. If you stand up and you push it back, if we would all stand up together and say no to many of the things that are happening in the world, it wouldn't happen. It really wouldn't happen. But because we're stuck in this world of illusions within ourselves, we tend to allow the world to unfold in the way that it is at the moment, which is completely corrupted. So when we start to work on ourselves and put that heart energy into the field, that corruption becomes intolerable, and people start to say, no, I'm not putting up with that anymore. I'm not going to live like this anymore. And my politician gets a letter every month or so saying, this is not happening to me. This is all wrong. And he doesn't know how to deal with it, because I'm not doing it in a nasty way. I'm not angry about it. I'm just pointing out facts to him, because I'm saying I'm not living in this world of illusion anymore. I'm not living in the world of illusion inside of me anymore either. That these feelings that grip me and make me feel like I can't do anything anymore is not going to happen anymore, because it disempowers you. So breaking free from this world of illusion inside of you takes internal work. You have to go inside, which is why I'm such a massive advocate of Ki Gong, because you start to sense the energy inside of you. So stop chasing those conditioned dreams. So when you were younger, you must have had dreams of being something or other. Me, I wanted to be a rock star. So anybody asked me, what do you want to be, Peter? I said, well, I want to be a rock star. And they go, well, I did it, but I didn't do it to the point of being internationally world famous. But I got to the point where I was so driven to do that, to prove my conditioned dreams. It nearly killed me to do it, but I did it. I got into the who's who of British popular music. I played with some enormous rock bands and enormous singers, and I toured, and I had brilliant fun with it. But it's like a conditioned dream. It was a conditioned dream, but I did actually do it, and very few people can do that. Is actually living through the heart is actually doing what you feel you should be doing. And what I felt when I was chasing that dream to be a musician is I wanted to be connected with people. And there was nothing, I thought there was nothing better than being on a stage in front of thousands of people, waving your hands in the air, they're all waving back at you. And towards the end of my career, I realized that actually meant nothing. It meant nothing. And so I was so blessed to find Ki Gong and to reach out and connect people now internationally as well as in my local area. And that is not a conditioned dream that I had. That is actually a dream that I wanted for my life, which is why I became a professional musician, is to get out there and actually connect with people. Now, with the Ki Gong, it's completely different. As I say, I shared that story with that woman who couldn't sit quietly earlier. I've got tons and tons of little anecdotes that does that. And this isn't a conditioned dream. This is something that was deep down inside of me when everything was good in my life. Is I just wanted to be in a community where people just waved their hands and smiled, didn't have to get into a deep conversation, didn't have to be overly connected or overly cushioned by them. I just wanted that connection where there was mutual respect amongst all of us. And that's slowly being built up in the Bright Beings Academy, and slowly being built up in my life. And I'm really advocate of saying, don't chase conditioned dreams. Chase your own dreams, the ones that actually come from inside of you, which is your profound purpose. And stop being influenced by your outside world. People will always come in and take from you. They'll always come in. Always, always, always. And when you start to realize how your energy field is working, you can do this online as well when you're speaking with someone. Some people are much more deceptive than others, but you can usually find out what people are after when you're actually conversing with them. And if you start to allow the outside world to influence how you're feeling inside, that means your mind is going out rather than coming in, which is why I say journey inwards and succeed outwards, because once you're inside, you can feel what influence the outside world is actually having on you. And then you can say, well, okay, I don't need this. What am I going to do about it? Can I do something about it? Is there something I need to say, or shall I just not say anything because it doesn't have to be said? It's really important to get your mindset around that, of stop being influenced by your outside world, because it's the inner world that really tells you everything that's going on. It teaches you the lessons. It makes you see life in a different way. And it makes you realize what an amazing being that you are. And all of you are. All of you listening to this are amazing beings. Never forget that. So in the heart, living through the heart, we'll get to the point of this now. You have a meeting of energy in the heart. So we call it the Dan Johns in this Korean practice. that I teach. In Chinese, it's called dantian. It doesn't matter what you call it. They're just energy centers of the body. So we have the lower danjian, the middle danjian, and the upper danjian. And what is, I was talking about this today, the energy of the ancient scripts that I read, like from the Gnostics, or even because the Gnostics talked about big energy gatherings, which is what the Vedas, the Indian scripts, call the demigods. Basically, they're different energies. So if you take it to the Indian scripts, you got Brahma, the creator, the lower danjan, which is where your power, your passion, your creativity. Vishnu is the heart danjan, the middle danjan, the heart chakra, which is your compassion, love, and empathy. Vishnu is the embracer of everything. And Shiva is the upper danjan, which is the destroyer of your mind. And what that means, it breaks through the illusion of this world, of what this world actually presents to you and what is really happening with you inside of you. Because this is just energy that's happening. And when we get to an understanding that this is a deeper level and being highly sensitive, you can perceive that deeper level. Don't be scared of it because you choose love or fear. And I will get into that a bit later. But the energy of the heart is the female energy rising, the male energy falling, coming into your heart. And what is amazing about your heart is you can increase the electromagnetic frequency with your mind. You can make it bigger just by using your mind. That is phenomenal. And the scientists at Heart Math Institute have showed you that. They've scientifically proven that they find the frequency of the heart of love and gratitude, because everything has a frequency. And then they monitor that. And then when the testee is being checked to focus on something that they love or they're grateful for, this starts to extend. So we do that in our live Ki Gong classes, or we'll be doing it in workshops and retreats when I start doing them. But we do it with dowsers. So we do a dowser test with 2 dowser rods to see where somebody's heart frequency is. So you put your intention to the dowsers, and the dowser usually goes about 4 feet away from the heart. After the Ki Gong class, the dowser goes about 8 feet away from the heart. It literally doubles the size of your heart mass, your heart frequency. And it's not just me doing that. I get the members to come up and do it for themselves, and they learn how to use the dowsers within about some people take a couple of minutes, but it's usually quite quick that they pick it up. And they do it, and the look on their faces is just is priceless, to make them realize what they're doing with their heart when they practice Qigong is priceless. And I can't stress that enough. So when you've got this energy meeting in your heart and you've stretched out all your meridians and you've got all your acupressure points stimulated, you've got new energy coming into the body with the body tapping, your heart becomes activated. This is why we always do a heart-based meditation. So we're focusing on the energy around the heart, which is what that Jigam meditation is. So that's the meeting of the energy in the heart. That's what we all really need to start to get together with in our minds and in our hearts, basically. So living through the heart is responding to life and not reacting. So I was talking earlier about the reactions that are coming from our negative energy. So with the practice of Qigong, we're stimulating new energy into the body every day. So you start to respond to life rather than react. Unless there's always times when you need to react and go, no, I'm not having that. Not having that, sorry. Bye. There's times when you need to do that. And there's other times when you've got to say, yeah, I'm going to respond to this. Do I need to say anything right now? Probably not. Do I need to sit and process this? Yes, I probably do. And I used to do that with my brother. My brother used to know how to push my buttons, the one just up from me. And it got to a point where I realized what he was doing. And then I would sit and listen, take it all in. It'd make me feel as angry as anything and as reactive as it could possibly be. But I just sat there, I took it, I'd go to bed on it, and then I'd come back the next morning and I would process it, and then I would break down what he says, and he would go, oh, I never saw it that way. I never saw it that way. And then he said to me one night when he was a little bit drunk, he said, you're boring now. You don't react to my prods. I said, well, no, I'm not going to do that anymore, because it's learning to respond actually keeps the heat out of the situation, which it all gets emotional and messy, and you don't need to be doing that with your heart. Your heart can be used for much bigger and better things rather than just reacting emotionally, because it's amazing. The heart is, if you think about it scientifically, it just carries on pumping. Nobody knows why. Nobody knows why the energy keeps pumping through the heart. Nobody knows that. Because this energy is endless. And when we think about the heart energy, we've got endless energy when we're thinking on joyful moments, happy moments, moments that make us feel good or grateful. And it's endless energy, isn't it? But when we get stressed, anxious, upset, the energy gets withdrawn from us so quickly. So focusing on the heart, what you're grateful for, what you love, where your empathy and compassion could kick in properly. And I was talking about that today with somebody, is you can choose where you use your empathy and compassion. Because if you go around trying to chase people to get recognized for your highly sensitive nature or your empathic nature, you're stretching out like a concertina. Then you have to keep coming back in and going out, you're coming back in, going out. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting. You don't need to do that. When you understand the energies of the world a little bit better, practice of Ki Gong will do that for you. You don't have to do that because you understand how this energy is flowing through everything and how the stagnant energy gets stuck and how this is nothing personal, actually. It's all about how energy flows. So responding to life and not reacting is so important when you're living through the heart. And how can you tell when you're living through the heart? That's a big question. How can you tell? You feel at peace. Oh, I remember the first time my thoughts dropped from my head into my heart and the head was completely blank. And I used to watch people like Sadhguru. I don't anymore because I don't trust what he says. Some of the things that he says, I don't trust it. But he was always saying, "Oh, my head's always blank. I'm not thinking about." So I did that for me, and this is what I suggest to people in taking the dream methods: to keep focusing on your thoughts, but bringing them down into the heart. Keep bringing them down into the heart. Keep bringing them down when they come in. Keep bringing them down into the heart. It's like a meditation in itself. And finally, your head it literally popped one day and went, "Wait a minute, I'm not thinking anything," and it was incredible. And that made me feel at peace at most times. Yes, I get angry, I get frustrated, especially with technology. Like this technology drives me crazy. There's always seemed to be something going wrong. And I am a musician at heart. And it says in psychology today, the biggest stressors for musicians is technology. So I'm choosing the wrong thing to go online for myself. But hey, this is life, isn't it? This is life. So you feel at ease. You ease everything. You flow through everything. You're like water. Remember Bruce Lee? Bruce Lee used to say, "You're like water. When you flow into the cup, you become the cup. When you flow out of the cup, you go onto the table. You become the table. You flow. It's the water energy that's coming onto the planet now, the Aquarius star sign coming onto the planet now, and it starts to flow. We start to flow with that lovely energy. You're more in control of your destiny. So in the body and brain that I trained with, one of the major principles was be the master of your time and your space. Be the master of your time and your space. How often are we being dragged away by other people, or they're trying to coerce us into doing something that we don't actually want to do, or they're not being straight with us? It's about being in control. No, I want to do this. If you want to do this with me, that's great. If you don't, that's fine. But you don't have to be sociopathic about it or narcissistic. It can be an open discussion about it. But there's times, as I say, when you have to cut your losses and say, "I can't do this anymore," which is wonderful empowerment for highly sensitive people when they get stuck in narcissistic relationships or when it's not working out for them because they're just not being listened to. And how many times do you feel like that? You're just not being listened to. It's awful because they think, "Oh, you're too sensitive. You're thinking too much about this." But you're coming from the heart while you're doing this. And it's really difficult when that's not listened to, which is why highly sensitive people can tend to shut their heart down. What's wonderful about living through the heart is you sense a deeper inner knowing. Now, we're actually in the middle of reading some out-of-body experience books. I've had out-of-body experiences, and it's incredible. If it's never happened to you, you can just imagine dropping all the baggage of being a human being, just dropping it all and just being this beautiful energy ball, just full of love. It was just a feeling of just love and bliss. And you drop all the baggage. It's that deeper sense of inner knowing that there's something much bigger than ourselves that is actually living through the heart. You actually perceive, you can walk into a beautiful landscape and you go, oh my goodness me, look how beautiful this is. And you are just blown away that you're part of this energy flow, this ebb and flow, which is why the indigenous tribes used to live with nature all the time. They're incredible living with nature. So living through the heart, you give a deeper sense of inner knowing, which is you are connected to everything, literally. And living through the heart, you obviously lead with love. It's impossible to do that 100% of the time for us as human beings because of, I'll get into that, but you do lead with love when you live through the heart. And you can learn to love and care for yourself. This is a big one because how often, as highly sensitive people, do we do destructive behavior towards ourselves or even our relationships when you're not really loving yourself and you're not really caring for yourself? So self-care should be top of the list of everybody's priority. And that's why I get up every day and practice Ki Gong for at least 45 minutes every day, doing my master's training. I do chanting with the Chunbu Kyang. I do a master's routine with the Ki Gong. I do stretching, a bit of strengthening exercises, and open up all the meridians and all the danjons just before I even start the day. And sometimes I go on to take 3 classes in that day. So it's actually finding your own personal practice is so, so important to keep you going for the care of yourself and watching what you eat in this toxic world that we live in today. What we eat is so important because you are what you eat. And there's so much garbage in our food chain. I've been looking into the food pyramid recently and putting a weight wisdom course together. And there's so much garbage. We're just doing a little bit more research into that. I'm going, oh my goodness. So we've got to take care of ourselves by watching what we eat and moving the body. So when you're living through the heart, you are relaxed, knowing everything is going to be all right. You just know it. And talking about out of body experiences, there's no such thing as death. Death is the ending of the material body. And when we get that, actually our courage grows. That kidney meridian starts to kick in. Our courage grows. We have no fear. The bladder meridian kicks in. There's no fear anymore. There's courage. And you have the fortitude and aptitude to move yourself forward because you think, okay, it's all going to be okay. So what's stopping me doing this? It's always, always, always the negative energy stuck inside of you, always. And there's ways of dealing with that. And Ki Gong is one of the best ways I've found personally, because all this weird stuff keeps coming up week after week, year after year. It's like, whoa, where did that memory come from? And how long has that been repressed in there for? And then I might feel a bit off for a day or two. And then you think, okay, this is interesting. And then when that happens, I usually tend to boost my energetic feeling a little bit. And that's what we should be doing when we're focusing and connecting with the heart, is tuning into a higher vibration. And it brings you back into balance. How beautiful is that? You want the yin and the yang. You need the male and the female energy running through you properly. You need the water up, female energy, fire down, male energy, that beautiful flow of energy, the yin and the yang inside of you, that's actually going to make you feel like you are completely balanced as a human being. So important, so important. And to find your optimum health. You know what your optimum health is. You know when you're a little bit off. You know when you're not feeling so good. You need to be working through that, and living through the heart will help you do that, because you realize, no, I'm not going to eat that now because that's not going to be good for me. Actually, I'm going to try and work out why this makes me feel bad and maybe move away from eating that, or maybe I need to move a bit more or get some of this negative energy away from me. You start to move towards your optimum health. And my teacher, Ilchi Lee, he said, he wrote a book called I Want to Live to 120 Years. Now, if you use that mantra for yourself and you say, well, I'm going to live for 120 years, I'm going to live for 120 years, you keep saying that to yourself, your subconscious, once you've done it enough, your subconscious will suddenly shift and go, well, if I carry on eating that or drinking that, I'm not going to live to 120 years. And you change. Honestly, you change because you've given yourself that mantra. And that's you actually saying to yourself, I want to be in the best health that I possibly can be. It's giving yourself that mantra and realizing that you are worth it. and you are worthy to have that feeling of optimum health. We don't feel like that. We all feel dejected and not listened to and hurt, but you are worth it. So it's just keep moving towards it. As I keep saying in the classes, in the Ki Gong classes, where your mind goes, your energy follows. After years of living through the head, what happens? We start to get overwhelmed. We get upset. We get emotionally exhausted. Everything is too much. When, especially when you get to the age of like 40, 50, 60, and you've just been doing this all the time, you've never really done anything to help yourself with this, it gets worse and worse and worse, and you start to get physical disease. Then things will start to crop up in the body. Men tend to get real bad problems with their heart in their 50s. Women have terrible problems with the menopause, and it's just this horrible whole thing of stuck in the head, all this negative energy. We can clear that, and we can go through these natural processes, which are not very nice for a lot of us, a little bit easier, rather than having this negative energy stuck inside of us. So when you do actually start to live through the heart, it feels like a miracle. You're actually almost floating on air going, wow, well, I never thought life could actually feel this way. I used to think it when I was a musician, when I was on stage playing in front of thousands of people, I thought that was it. Wow, this is great. But it was really my ego being flattered, going, well, yeah, Peter, you're so brilliant now. You can do anything on the stage. And I could, and I literally did as well. Some of it I can't really share in this webinar, but it was an experience. But living through the heart, when you actually start to really tap into it, get past the ego, sense of self, into the heart, it feels like a miracle. It feels like you're floating on air. It's a beautiful thing. And love, I feel, is the answer to all of these ills that we've got on the planet. When we learn to love ourselves first, then we can start to love each other. That is such an important part of all of this. So stop listening to your critical voices. How many times has your inner voice gone, oh, you can't do that? Don't be so silly. I had it today. So he said something to me today. He goes, yeah, maybe you should give up on that. I'm going, what are you talking about? Give up on that? What are you talking about? And it is this internal dialogue, and you go, no, go out, bang, out of my head. Because these thoughts do still come into your head, even though I've got them down into my heart. They do come into the head, and the negative ones come in not so loud now. Not so loud, but it's funny how the thought, when you unpack a thought process, how it can drag you into a negative place very quickly. And you're going, well, no, maybe I can't do any of this. This is awful. I can't do any of this. This is all wrong. So stop listening to that critical voice. Start listening to your heart. And living through the heart means knowing who you are. It means you're connected to everything. This is so multi-layered. And those of you who are highly sensitive and also empaths, you can see past the veil. You can feel other people's energy. You can realize actually these five senses isn't what you are. What you are is so much more complex than that. And all this physical body is just a receiver and transmitter of information. That's when you start to realize, well, this is interesting. And knowing who you are gives you an enormous sense of peace, calmness, love in the heart. Knowing your strengths and weaknesses. It's like when you were talking about conditioned dreams. So if you want to be an astronaut, don't expect just to walk into being an astronaut. You've got to do some training. You've got to go and get some, and it'll take you a long time. It might even be too late for you now. I don't know. But if you want to be an astronaut, that's really a conditioned dream. If you want to be an empath, very achievable. If you want to be a healer, if you want to heal somebody else or help somebody else, all of that is really achievable. And you can build on your weaknesses and use your strengths to get you there. So any weakness, really, if you look at it, is an opportunity for you to grow. Anything that you're weak at. Me, I tend to want to get too many words out at once. I've got this whole sort of barrel of information here, trying to get the words out. I tend to try and speak too quickly and then jumble them up a little bit because it's like because I want to get a point across. I prefer to think in concepts. When I get an idea, it comes in as a concept. So I get the concept, but it's then unwinding the words to that concept I find difficult. So that's one of my weaknesses. So I went and trained with Toastmasters to actually be able to speak a little bit better in public. And I think I'm getting a little bit better at it now, which is good. But when I used to do Toastmasters, my 7 minute speeches used to last about 4.5 minutes. It's too quick. But knowing your strengths, but using your weaknesses as opportunities for growth is a really important way of looking at it rather than thinking, oh, I can't do that. Just keep going. Everybody, every great inventor failed thousands of times before they ever got it right. Always remember that. And you have perfect imperfections. I love that song. What song is that? I have perfect imperfections. I love your perfect imperfections. Your imperfections are perfect, and again, they're there for growth. It's like I've got a bad chest. Personally, I've had a bad chest all my life. I was a blue baby when I was born, so I had a bad chest all my life. I've had to work through it to make it better. Glad I know all about the lung meridian, how to open it up, because the sadness used to overtake me from my traumatic childhood, and then looking out at the world, seeing how human beings treat each other, the sadness used to overwhelm me. Now, with the lung meridian, I understand about being positive and how you can change the world around you. So my imperfections in the physical world were really my lungs, and now that I go to the doctors and get them tested, they go, "Wow, your lungs are stronger than anyone I've ever met your age." So I've turned that around. My imperfection is still not perfect. My lungs are still not perfect, but you can work on them as well as your weaknesses, your imperfections. Unfortunately, I can't do anything about my hair. So living through the heart. Well, I don't know. You never know. I've seen long vitality guys grow their hair back by using their mind. So you never know. Maybe I'll work on that next. Living through the heart means living truthfully, means living true to yourself, being you, absolutely being you 100%. And when you can get that, people will see you shining. That's why I always say, be well and keep shining at the end of my emails, because I want you to shine. When you shine, it means you're living through the heart. When you're practicing your Ki Gong, someone says, wow, you're glowing today. You're living through the heart. You're connecting with your heart energy, and it connects with the three Dan Johns. It's so important, being truthful to yourself. And it means living authentically and honestly. So hard to live honestly in today's world. It's all deceptions and all these things happening. Really difficult thing to do. So logic rules from the head. It's very much a head thing. And I'm not saying it's not good, because it is. It's good to have logic. Remember, what's his name? Mr. Spock. Live long and prosper. Very logic. The Vulcans in Star Trek, very logical. Logic. But that's what Captain Kirk used to say about Spock. He's got no heart. There's no heart. So logic rules from the head, which is not a bad thing, but it is if it's disconnected from the heart. Love rules from the heart. Always rules from the heart. So if you can connect with your heart, getting rid of all the garbage out of the head, then you're really onto a winner. So love leads you to the light. I wrote a song, Love Leads to Light, Fear Leads to Fight, which is the next line. So fear leads you to fight, the fighting aspect of it. So if you're really in this loving place, you won't be going towards the fight. You're actually starting to move and build up on this loving place. And these are the vibrations of how life works. So the lower vibrations, the lower Dan Johns, more connected to the earth. The higher vibrations, the upper Dan John, more connected to what you could call the heaven energy, or the higher energies that we can all connect to. That's where we go when we focus on love, and we go down to the fear energies when we focus on fight. So choose love, not fear, and always walk into the light. The light's a beautiful place where we can actually be together and not in a fearful place. So that's it. I'm going to stop the share now. That's it. That's the end of the webinar. So if I stop the share, yes. There we go. So anybody got any questions? Shane. Any questions or anything you'd like to add?
How do you,
Hello, Colleen. How you doing?
hi, good. How do we find your Qigong? Is a specific training, or is it just an umbrella of how does Qigong work?
Ki Gong ignites the energy system of the body. So it's connects the whole thing. But what you need to do when you first start your Qigong practice is to strengthen your lower danjon, the lower abdomen. So it gives you a stronger base. When you're in the head, it's like an upside down pyramid. So when you flip that pyramid, you start to get that lower energy in your lower danjon, your lower, and you start to feel stronger with yourself. And that helps you have the power to push through the solar plexus into the heart. That allows you to grow through your heart. And it was that sense of breaking past what I needed to do as a musician was looking for recognition and for security, because it was a bit of an up and down lifestyle. There's days when there's like hundreds or thousands coming in. There's other days and weeks when there's nothing coming in. And it was like you're looking for security and you're looking to control it. But once you get past that feeling, I don't need to control any of this, then you can start to push up from your lower danjon into your heart. So it's to start off with you and Tanner. Like I said in the email, I think body tapping is really good, but anything that grounds you. So there's lots of grounding exercises and grounding flows in the academy that you should be able to find in the Tudor section of the academy. You'll be able to find that, and you'll be able to actually start to ground yourself more at your own pace. But I would suggest, if you can, do at least one class a week, and that will really, if you can get it up to 3 classes a week, that'd be brilliant. Oh, is she gone? I think she's got a bad. I'm going to stop the recording.